Any type of cryptocurrency is based on trust. And this was like the most catastrophic break of trust possible. This researcher actually went forward and privately disclosed this to the people who maintain the blockchain, and they fixed it. The problem is it's been there for 4 years.
I saw an email and the subject said shiny hunters. Basically, they tried to extort me. It was Monero that they were asking for to basically have certain crazy things about me not be leaked onto the internet. Not the biggest fan of crypto, and I think this is a good example of why Claude Opus 4.8 helped surface a 4-year Zcash bug.
It took a huge dip. The reports on what caused the dip, obviously the news coming out, but it was somewhere between 30 and 50% of the market dipped. So quick background, everyone should know Bitcoin by now. So we have cryptocurrencies. There's been two prominent in the market that are called privacy coins, because the whole point of what they do is to try to minimize who can follow the money. With Bitcoin, you have your ledger, even though very in the early days, people thought, oh, I could just do this anonymously because my identity is not tied to this thing. But over time, people developed like certain methods, a math, an algorithm that can follow the chain. So if you buy and sell things, they can find you. So eventually we have two coins that kind of came out as king, as Monero and Zcash. And they take different approach, but what they do is all this complex math to try to anonymize it. So the buyer and seller can trade the Zcash or their Monero, and it's very hard to follow. If you do have the technology to follow it, they do a special type of math where it's like puts in 10 wallets at a time. So you have what's called plausible deniability. So every time you like trade, you actually don't know technically like who you're trading with or what you're trading. So if you are caught, like it was like literally structured for our legal system, because like you could have been one of 10 people and there's no way to prove which of the 10 actually got the illegal funds. There's a lot of very interesting things. I've been a big follower of Monero for a long time. When I first got into crypto, I had both of these absolutely, but I took a cryptography class, which will come in handy in just a little bit. And I actually wrote like a thesis on Monero. So I know more about Monero than I do Zcash, but we're in the age of AI now. And the researcher, Taylor Hornby of Shield Labs, got his hands on Claude Opus 4.8 and did what the security researchers do. And they were able to find a bug in the way that the actual cryptography worked. This kind of does tie into a lot of the stories we've talked about. There's two forms of cryptography that kind of have dominated the world so far. One of them is factoring prime numbers, and the other is elliptic curve. Elliptic curve is less computationally complex. It's what our phones use. So when you like sign up onto the internet and all that, you're using Firefox or Safari, somewhere your phone is doing elliptic curve cryptography. And it's just literally a curve that forms a shape. But the math there gets really complex really fast, and it's hard to reverse engineer it. So you can create and trade secrets using that curve. So Zcash used that same kind of cryptography, but there's been a bug in there for the last 4 years that allows people to falsify one of these where you say, oh, I have this much money. So anybody could have hopped into one of these pools and basically said, oh, I have $4,000. The blockchain will be like, okay, if you have $4,000, prove it, do this math. And then effectively, because the bug in the system, you just do fake math and it fails to verify it correctly. So that's during the printing process. This guy, to his credit, this researcher actually went forward and privately disclosed this to the people who maintain the blockchain, and they fixed it. The problem is it's been there for 4 years, and it's because it obfuscates itself. We have no way of proving that. So it took a huge dip. The reports on what caused the dip, obviously the news coming out, but it was somewhere between 30 and 50% of the market dipped, because effectively, like in my eyes, any type of cryptocurrency is based on trust. And this was like the most catastrophic break of trust possible. I'm actually surprised it didn't dip further. But yeah, so that's like the short of it. We don't know how much of this was printed.
Untraceable privacy coin is basically another way to say you don't know if you got robbed.
At this point, yeah.
Nutty.
So yeah, because like I could put in $100, and Zcash actually has done well in the past. So you could put in $100. A lot of people see it like more of an investment. So it might become up to $250. but it's only $250 if you pull out and collect that difference. Zcash is what a lot of like ransomware gangs use. So if I hack into your computer, I encrypt your records, I say, here's my wallet address. I want to see it filled up with $2 million of Zcash. If you do that, I'll give you your data back. And the reason they use that is because even at the highest levels of like cryptographers, it's incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to trace this. So it has a bit of a bad reputation because a lot of like cyber criminals use this coin, but it has a like the team behind it has, in my opinion, like a good ethos. They're like these crypto anarchists that are like, I should be able to spend and save money without the government watching me. So
Yeah.
they like I kind of like that, but it's
So similarly could be said about Monero as well, right?
yes, absolutely.
So
So
I had an experience with this recently. I was going while we're still on the crypto topic.
yeah.
I was scanning through my exploring ChatGPT Gmail, which is just flooded, and I wanted to check my spam to make sure nothing I missed got sent to spam accidentally. And I saw a email, and the subject said "shiny hunters." I said, "Shiny hunters sounds familiar." And then I won't get into the explicits of what they said in that email, and did a little more research on it and found out obviously it's probably not really them, but basically they tried to extort me. And I'm pretty sure, if I recall correctly, it was Monero that they were asking for to basically have certain crazy things about me not be leaked onto the internet. And at first I was like taken back by it. I'm like, wait, Shiny Hunter sounds familiar. Didn't I talk about them with Chris at one point?
We did, yeah.
Yeah. But doing a little deep dive on it, I realized that email was actually just spam. Probably somebody from some foreign country trying to extort me. So yeah, anyways, not the biggest fan of crypto, and I think this is a good example of why just be careful. I personally don't think it's a good investment, but we don't have to get into that.
But the phenomenon that you talk about is absolutely real. So I won't say anything bad about shiny hunters so they don't hunt me. But when you get I'm going to say good ransomware gang, crypto, any of these people who do these cyber operations for money, we usually call them gray hat hackers. They get a name for themselves because the skills they show are like legitimately impressive. But then you have a lot of other people who then try to pretend to be them because maybe there's just 6 of them in real life, but there's 500 people pretending to be them because they have such a solid reputation. So it's hard to know if that was the real deal or not. Once they come up in a name and it's like in the news, you'll see all these other scammers doing exactly what you said because the idea is you'll know shiny hunters. You'll be like, oh, I better give them that because they're the real deal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but
Well,
Monero sounds right.
I didn't give them nothing. So far, so good.
Yeah, no, I've always been a fan of Bitcoin. I've been in it for a long time. There's never been like a legitimate hack or attack on the main Bitcoin ledger. And even in the age of mythos and fable, researchers have been hammering the Bitcoin code base. No one's found anything. So that's the special place in my heart.